Call a regular meeting of the New Ulm Economic Development Authority for Tuesday, May 12th, 2020 at 8 a.m. to order. First item on the agenda is roll call. So Heather, would you please do roll call?
Commissioner Brom,
Present.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes. Motion carries. We do have a quorum. We'll go on to item number 2, public meeting notice. Notice is to conduct a meeting by telephone. So I need a motion to receive it and order it filed.
I'll offer the motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Roll call.
Roll
Oh,
call.
sorry. There you go. The first one right off the bat. Heather, take roll call.
Commissioner Brom,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. We go on to item number 2, public notice of Architectural Review Committee meeting. And that'd be following this meeting today, so we need to, we have to have a motion to receive and order it filed. So, we'll take a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brom,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 3, approve the minutes of the April 14, 2020 meeting minutes.
I'll offer the motion.
I'll second. This is Susan.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion to them? Hearing none. Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brom,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 4, EDA Director's Administration Report. Heather?
All right, I just have a few items to highlight for you on the reports. Under the public housing report, just note expenses were higher during the month of April due to property taxes and a unit turnover. And that unit turnover was another unit that was a long-term tenant who had smoked in the apartment prior to going smoke-free. So the painting was higher than normal because we had to kills everything first. And then new flooring as well. Note under the EDA report on page 10, the EDA fund balance is lower due to payments for the grant programs that we've started this year. Under the Small Business Incentive Grant Program, note 2 applications were received and are pending approval. Under the Property Rehabilitation Loan Program, note 1 application was received and approved in the amount of $50,000. And note under the Home Buyer Assistance Loan Program, that's been very active with the spring housing market. 4 applications were received and approved during the month of April, and all available funding for 2020 has been allocated at this time. It hasn't been paid out. I have 2 that are still house hunting, so if they're not successful, that funding would become available again, but it's all been earmarked at this time. I guess that's all the out of the ordinary items.
Anybody have anything they'd like to add to it, or?
Just a quick question.
Heather, can you talk just a little bit about, I noticed now we had, there's not a count on there, the $2,500 and the $1,500 items that we gave out to businesses. Is that what we expected? Was it more? Was it less?
I'll kick that over to Audra.
Sure. Well, we expected more. You know, we approved on March 27th from the EDA $250,000 for those $2,500 grants, and then on April 14th we approved $100,000, and so we are sitting a little bit higher than half of what we thought could come in. So I was going to report on that later also.
Oh, okay, I'll save a couple comments and then I'll wait then. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything?
What did we allocate for the down payment assistance for the year? I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank there.
50,000.
50? Okay.
Anybody else have anything? See nothing? Entertain a motion to accept the administrative report?
I'll offer the motion.
I'll second. This is,
We have a motion.
Mike Schwartz.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. No more discussion? Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Braun,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 5, Public Housing Program, EDA claims. We have them in front of us. Anything that you want to report on there, Heather?
Just that
Pretty
it
much
was a refreshingly low month compared to the last several.
Great word.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 12th, 2020 claims list.
I'll second Les.
We have a motion and a second. Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Braun,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 6.1, sale of EDA-owned land. Heather? You got that one?
Yeah, all right, this is a carryover from last month. We had the public hearing on the sale of these remaining 8 lots in the Milford Heights subdivision. We have a letter of interest from Erickson Construction to purchase the remaining 8 lots for a total of $30,000 with a closing date of July 2nd. This got hung up last month because we didn't have the resolution prepared, but we've had the city attorney prepare that for this meeting now, so we can move forward, if you so choose, on the sale of these lots and move forward in entering into a purchase agreement.
Thank you. I guess I support it. I have no concerns about it. If anybody else does, I think it's a good deal. Time to move on.
Right, and I think,
I think we supported it last month and we just couldn't approve it, as you said, because we didn't have the resolution. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve it today.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waive the reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none? Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Braun,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
I abstain.
and President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Item 6.2, EDA Emergency Relief Grant Update. Audra?
Yes. Okay. So, Les, this is the update you're looking for. So we do have we closed the $2,500 grant program at the end of April. We ended at, we've had 55 of those grants go out for $137,500. And we are currently still working with businesses on the Tier 2 grant program. We've discussed that we would like to leave this program open and available until July 31st, 2020. At this point, we've done 62 of the $1,500 grants. Shout out to the finance department, who have really been great about getting the checks cut in a timely manner and getting them out into businesses' hands. So does anybody have any questions or more information that you'd like?
I have a couple. And one you just answered, 'cause I couldn't remember the cutoff date for the $1,500 one. So thank you on that. When you put both of those together, what did we anticipate spending and what did we spend?
Well, we had From the EDA, there was $350,000 in both of those programs, and there was also a $100,000 verbal agreement from NUEDC to contribute to that as well.
So
So that
I'm
would mean,
understanding that there's quite a bit left in this account.
I would say about 120.
Okay. So my question to you and to the rest of the fellow commissioners, should we be looking at a round 2? And if so, what would that look like?
So Les, just to, Commissioner Schultz, sorry. Further on in your agenda, we've taken a look at the limited loan program that we currently have through the EDA, and we're thinking that adjusting that to create a different type of business loan with those funds might be appropriate. Or are you considering a round 3, technically, of grant programs?
Well, for some it'd be a round 2, because they're not eligible for both, correct? They only get one. They only got one or the other.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes. If you got the first grant, you were not eligible for the second one. That is correct.
Okay. I'm personally thinking more of a round 2 or 3, however you want to call it, different than a loan primarily because, in talking to some of these business owners the last few weeks, they're really struggling, and especially those that are not open yet. And they've talked about once they do open, they got to buy so much product just to get the doors open that they're going to be really strapped. So I don't know. I guess I'd like to hear what other commissioners think on this. I personally would like to try to figure out something more. The $2,500, it's a lot, but it's not a lot when you look at some of these larger businesses that may have paid their electric bill for the month. But so I'd like to figure out a way that we can. I'm so concerned when I read articles that at the end of this that potentially half of our businesses could just be gone. And so I think whatever we can do to keep them open during this critical period is really, really important. Core why we're here.
I
Can
agree.
we back up for a second, and maybe everybody else knows this, but or can you refresh my memory on the 2,500 versus 15 in Tier 1 versus Tier 2?
Sure. The first round, Commissioner Schwartz, was for businesses that were effectively closed by the governor's executive orders. So that was an outside closure forced upon them, and they were the first round of businesses to go down. So that included your bars and your restaurants, hair salons, that sort of thing. The Tier 2 was businesses, let's just be real honest, that every business has been impacted by the coronavirus. So we know that. But Tier 2 was specifically for people to help with those fixed monthly expenses, to help businesses that had a commercial address. So they were a small business of fewer than 10 employees. They had a commercial address. This would put into your retail and other businesses like that. But the difference was specifically the being closed by the governor's executive orders or not.
Okay, thank you.
I might add,
So Andra, go ahead.
when we originally designed these first round of grants, they were intended to be just a real quick means to get money to businesses until other resources became available. I'm sure by now everyone's aware of the PPP loans and grants, and we wanted to be responsive quickly, and I think commend the city staff and the finance department in that regard, because I think once we made the decision to go with this, those funds were available in just a matter of a few short days to keep those businesses afloat. And it wasn't intended to keep a business open per se in and of itself. It was just to kind of a stopgap until other resources came online. And I think going forward, what I believe we should do is look at developing more of a long-term solution, because this impact is not going to be, and I think you really alluded to it, Les, it's going to be a long-term sort of situation we find ourselves in. So I think we may have to look at developing some specific sorts of loans and grants, perhaps, that meet the challenges, for our local community that may not be met with other resources, maybe some sorts of gap funding again, or other types of things that we don't want some businesses falling through the cracks, if they're not eligible or for whatever reason can't tap into some other resources either on the state or federal level. But perhaps we might need to see what those particular resources are before we develop our own. But just, I think now is the time to be planning for when the businesses do open back up and what we're going to do to meet those needs and challenges, because I think they're going to be prevalent for quite some time.
So what I guess I'm hearing is we should let staff come back to us next
yeah,
month with some other.
Yeah, I think what I would like to see, if we put ourselves in the position of a typical small business in our community, what would be potentially available to them on a federal level, a state level, and what perhaps might be a need we could fill as a local EDA to facilitate and keep those businesses afloat. And if it's a situation where the closure, because I know that right now the governor is contemplating whether it gets extended again or not, and if it gets extended for another period of time, then we may need another round of quick sorts of grants, reopen the 2,500 or the 1,500 or blend that into a new program for any business that qualifies, just to get them to the point where they can actually open their doors again. And that is a real kind of an unknown right now. So I think we want to be flexible with that, and we may want to be ready to jump in and do that. And I think the other thing that would be great is to get some feedback from the businesses to say, hey, where are you guys at? I think we all share this belief or feeling that we don't want to see businesses close simply because of the pandemic and the closure. If whatever we can do to get them to the point where they can at least reopen and then start to reassess and say, okay, what are some of those long-term needs we may need to address? But so I see it as two things, again, short term, if this closure continues on for some businesses and what we can do to help those businesses, and then going forward into the long-term basis, what we may be able to have to do and to keep them going and get them back to where they once were.
Commissioner, so I would like to just remind you that the proposed action on this item here is to close the Tier 2 grant program on July 31st, 2020. We did close the first grant program, and I'm supportive of closing this one for a couple months out yet because, we still are in the middle of it, and there are funds available still.
Okay.
So we have not had anyone come back and ask for the $2,500 grant after it's been closed,
We have had one,
One.
and that was granted.
after closure.
Yes.
Well, that's a great move. I appreciate, to be flexible with that. And we certainly would want to facilitate that, even though technically it's closed. If there's a business in need right now, I think we need to step up whatever we can do. And I guess that's part of, maybe seeking feedback to see what would be a way we could facilitate some of those needs for those businesses as well. Granted that we don't have unlimited funds, but I think if we could set up a program that could target and be the most effective to keep these businesses going and get them restored again, hopefully back up and running. And maybe they just need some short-term working capital to get inventory and supplies back into their facilities and stores once they're able to open. If that's something we can help with in some cases, then maybe we should look at something like that, even short-term or something. So I think the time for flexibility is what we have to look at here to see and be responsive. And so there's so much of it that's still unknown for all of us, so we have to be ready to respond when the time arises.
I like the idea of trying to see what our businesses are asking. I know they're so appreciative of the two opportunities they've already had, and I've heard from a lot of businesses that we acted quickly and we got funds out quickly, and so I think we deserve a little pat on the back along with staff that we moved quickly on this topic early on, and so now you're right, it's like phase two. What do we do now? This went on a lot longer than most of us expected, and and hopefully this coming week, most of it will be, businesses will be back open, those that can. So the thing is, I would worry about that would be another whole month before we meet again. So if we do that, can we have emergency meeting? If the staff come up with plan 2?
Of course, yes. And we actually have kind of a suggestion further on in your agenda, so.
All right.
Okay.
Anybody
Thank you
else?
for the report.
I need a motion. Can I propose,
Yeah.
can I close that?
All right.
I'll,
At this time, entertain a motion.
I'll offer the motion to accept the report.
Does that
Russell,
include,
second.
does that include the Tier 2 grant program closing on July 31st?
Yes, we'll for now, we'll call it, it gives us time to respond if we change our minds or whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We do have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I'm sorry, I missed who seconded.
Les,
Les, okay, thank you.
Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brum,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 6.3, limited loan program. Chris Dalton.
All right. President, Commissioners, this is looking at our limited loan program, again, to address some of the concerns that you had in the previous item. The limited loan program is a program that isn't utilized at all. I've issued one loan at this point in time, and that was about 2 years ago, but prior to that, not really used. So taking a look at that program and revamping it to address the needs coming due to COVID. And so what we're looking at is pulling it out from the rehab loan because it is tied to rehab loan funding. So pulling it out as a separate program. And then looking at doing this from a minimum of $2,500 to a maximum of $10,000. And again, you as the EDA Commission can change those values. And so we're looking at a term of 5 years, 1% interest, and then no payments would be due until January 1st of 2021. And the only thing we would need is a personal guarantee and a W-9 for this. Now, looking at this compared to a lot of other cities out there, gives us the flexibility so someone doesn't have to take $10,000 if they don't need it. It gives them the flexibility to tell us what they need this money for. We would be able to get this money out as soon as possible, so businesses that need it now to get inventory and things like that, all that would qualify under this separate program. So it's, again, addressing the needs of the business community, and they can let us know what they need. Now, again, if you feel 10,000 is not enough, you can increase that amount, but we figure between 2,500 and 10,000 should be enough to get businesses what they need in the future moving forward.
A couple of questions then. Do we have a definition of what qualifies as a small business? Is it certain revenues? Is it a number of employees?
Usually we do number of employees, and you as the EDA Commission can change that definition. Usually it's 10 full-time equivalent or less, but if we want to hit more businesses, we can up that amount. Usually the SBA, I think they define a business as like under 500 employees, which I think is way too many to be considered small, especially for a program like this. But if you wanted to up it to 15 or 20 full-time equivalent employees, I would be okay with that as well.
Yeah, I think what we'd want to do is maybe kind of zero in on that to see for those businesses what numbers we would hit at. The other thought I had would be is we could tier the amount of the loan funds available based on the number of employees. You know, so many dollars per full-time equivalent up to a cap. And I don't know if we say 25,000. I mean, those are all things. And again, I don't know how much money we're talking that we have available potentially to fund this with at this time. Is there?
Right now, if we were doing a max of $10,000, I would ask for $250,000 set aside for this. If you up that amount, of course, we would ask to up that as well. And so, because again, this would be a separate program pulling it out of the rehab loans, so we're not tapping into the rehab loans to fund this program.
What did you say the interest rate would be again, Chris?
1%.
Just to clarify,
1%? Okay.
the sheet in front of you says 0. I said 0, Chris said 1. All right, I'll concede.
Okay.
I mean, if you wanted to do
Wasn't
0,
matching up with what I was reading, so.
we can talk with Roger. I'm not sure if we can do 0%. I think there's something that prohibits us from that. But if you would like to do 0% and that's the wishes, we can talk with Roger to make sure we can do that legally.
I don't know, I think
Or
since,
could it be 0? Could it be 0 for the first couple of years and then go to 1%?
We can find out from Roger if that's doable.
well, I like the fact that the payments are deferred so that they hopefully are in a positive cash flow once we do ask for repayment. I think the difference between 0 and 1% is quite nominal. I don't think that that's going to have a huge impact. I guess this would be a nice program to, once we have it in place, to maybe keep around just for sort of an incubator loan to if it's a smaller business looking to expand, for instance, we could have these resources available to maybe step in and do some of that as well. So this might be one good thing that comes out of this whole pandemic, is we have this program on our books forever, and if we have the 1%, that would give it a chance to at least grow as we collect interest payments, at least on a small basis. So I don't think the 1% is out of line.
And speaking to
Yeah, I'd like that. This is how it's written. I think it fits us well, and I certainly support it as it's written. I think if we increase that $10,000 amount too much, then we're not going to be able to serve as many people. So I think I'm okay with leaving it. And
I think too, the $10,000 will cover a lot of businesses, so I guess I'd support that. And then, like Dan says, keep the 1% interest. It's a
yeah,
small
I'm fine with that.
and then
Hearing that, I'm going to offer a motion to approve the limited loan program as written.
with the 1%.
Oh, with the 1%. Sorry, with the 1%.
And does that include
I'll second.
setting aside $250,000 as well?
Yeah, that's our maximum. Yes.
Okay.
Could we, once the grant fund things close, transfer those funds into this loan program? Would that be appropriate, or?
I wouldn't be opposed to it, but that would be a EDA decision.
Yeah, we did that at a prior meeting.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
That makes sense. I could make that part of my motion if that's acceptable.
I just think we can kind of move those funds right into that, and we transition to that, and that's kind of what I was talking about. Chris
Yeah.
must be a mind reader, because he's already got this on the agenda. I guess I should have read a little bit forward, but I think this will fit the bill really well. And then again, we can kind of base, if we need to make some changes down the road, on feedback. But I agree, we want to get as widespread of impact as we can. So I'll second it if no one else has already. So.
All right. So, any more discussion? We have a motion and a second?
President Schmitz, I just mentioned that I'm really glad to hear that the limited loan program can be revamped. 5,000 seems like a lot, but it isn't a lot. And, we see that not a lot of people have taken advantage of it. So hopefully the increase in funds will make it more attractive to businesses. And also, if you remember, I think it was last month I sat here and I said, these new business incentive grants that we have are 10,000. And those are for businesses after they've been open for 3 months. And that is a great program. I have 3 applications on my desk right now waiting to open. But if you remember, I brought the concern that we don't have anything to help someone with succession planning. So if someone is looking to buy a business, they're not starting a new business. And so I think that this would come into play for them. They're taking a risk also, and this would come into play for them. Does that make sense? So I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
All right. Any more discussion? Seeing none? Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Braun,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
You froze
Yes.
there for a minute.
All right, Commissioner Yanni?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Schultz?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. Item 7.1, consider a loan from the EDA to the TIF H5 Milford Heights Phase 1 Fund 367. Nicole isn't here, so
I think
Just a
Nicole was planning to call in. Nicole, are you on the call?
is Nicole out there? I don't think so.
Okay.
This is the sort of thing we've done in the past. and
Yeah,
we've-
this comes before you every year this time of year when the payments are due. The amount has gone down over the years. We're only needing to transfer a little over 15,000 this year. It's been closer to 50 when we started this, and it's gone down a little bit every year as we've started collecting more property taxes up there.
And with the sale of the lots now, this is the last time we'll have to do it, right? Or is there
I
still?
can't answer that.
Oh, okay.
No.
This is just to meet the shortfalls that come from the TIF financing because not enough of those properties have been turned into houses.
Right.
That is correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So at the very least, we're going to see this number go down if we're still required. So that being said, I'd offer the resolution and waive the reading to approve the transfer of funds.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Okay.
Susan.
We have a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waive the reading. Any more discussion? Anybody? Seeing none? Finance Director, Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brum,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I think you did.
Was that Les or Mike?
That's less.
Okay, I'll call Commissioner Schwartz again then. Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
And President
Yeah.
Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 7.2, funding for child care provider training.
So yes, thank you. So we've had many conversations here in my short time in the EDA about childcare providers and supporting that industry within our community and training, finding accessible training, finding it reasonably priced and locally is certainly a challenge for our providers. And I've had numerous conversations with Brown County licensing staff about just the challenges and the dynamics of that. So I know that this has been talked about it, so we put some time into just figuring out what the numbers would be, and so I'm asking for today that $4,000 of EDA funding would be provided to set up an accredited training for child care providers. We would host it here in New Ulm. It would be available to people in the region, but it would be at no charge for people who are licensed here in our community. And we would be looking for partners for that, but we need some startup funds for that project.
Audra, is this something similar to what we did like 3 years ago at Washington, where we brought all the trainers in one day, we fed them, we put as much training out there as we could over that an 8-hour day? Is that kind of the similar format you're looking at?
It is similar. This would just be for a morning, and I believe, if I remember right, that was also with ECFE. And so they
Yes, it
combined
was.
it with another event that they were having. I've talked to Betty Euling over at ECFE. We would be collaborating, but it would look a little bit different just because it would be a half day.
Happy. Okay. I know it really, really worked well when we did that a couple of years ago, and the daycare providers really, it's really difficult for them to go to 1 hour training here and then another one at 7 o'clock at night on another night, and they worked all day, and so when we put that together all for one weekend or one day, that was just, they loved it, and they got gift bags and they got just lots of support and got most of their training done for the entire year in one day. It was really advantageous to them, and And that's where we lose daycare people. The training just gets to be too much and they can't get it completed and then they lose their license. So I strongly support this, and I'll go ahead and offer the motion for $4,000 in EDA funding to provide accredited training for childcare providers within New Ulm.
I'll second it.
We have a
I
motion and a
support it
second.
as well.
Any more discussion? Seeing none? Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brum,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yeah.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 8.1, Economic Development Director, Assistant City Manager, Activity Report. Audra?
Sure, I'll just highlight a couple things. I've already reported on the grants, just reported also on just talking to Brown County about the child care possibilities there. Child cares have been really negatively impacted by the pandemic as well. So there have been emergency grant funds made available for them, working with Brown County staff and just making sure that all of that is being communicated out to them. Does anybody have any specific questions about my report? I can also report on Wendy Anderson, who is our SBDC person here. With the stay-at-home, again, she's working out of home, but just to let you know, she has had 41 hours of working with New Ulm clients in the last month. For April, just knowing that she's not the only consultant that we have working in New Ulm, but that gives you a sense of what she's been doing here. We've really been leaning on the Small Business Development Center for their expertise. They have a trained finance team that is helping as many small businesses as they can, current clients, and they've been taking on new ones as these programs roll out. She's also worked with 8 different businesses on regular business consulting, and then has had just a couple of businesses, still startups. You know, people are interested in starting things up. So she's been busy as well.
Thank you.
Yes. Any questions?
Audra, do you have any updates? I think when we talked maybe last month, maybe the month previously, about that larger daycare that was going to open on State Street. Do we have an update on where they're at? I know there was a $500 fire something that they had to meet, fire code issue that they had to take care of. That's the last I heard. Do you have any more update on that?
I do not have an update. Mr. Dalton, do you?
At this point in time, no. I've reached out a couple times to no avail. I continue to reach out probably every couple weeks to see where that is, but I have not heard back at this point in time.
So Audra and Chris, or maybe and commissioners, I think we also had a discussion that if they don't open, then maybe we should take a look at purchasing that building, leasing that building, and reopening it and get it open. Is that something that you guys can take a look at in the next month and see if there's any options in that world?
Absolutely. We can look into that.
So if she's not going to open, she's not going to open. Then it's all set up. My understanding, I haven't been in there, but if we got a daycare ready to go and she just can't pull the pin, either we buy it and put her in charge of it, or we lease it out and get somebody else to run it.
I mean,
We can check out
I'd like to lease.
we'd have to find out if they're willing to sell.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't buy it if they don't want to sell it, but we could find that out.
Yeah, correct. But if we don't ask, we won't know.
Right.
So
Well,
let's put that as an agenda item for next month, if we could, please.
Sounds good. Anybody have anything else? If not, I need a motion to accept the report.
I'll offer the motion.
I'll second, Les.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brum,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yeah.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. With no more business, thanks everybody for calling in. We'll adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
you didn't have to talk.